Hello and welcome to my Odyssey Odyssey. This is my first time reading the Odyssey by Homer, so I thought I'd share my experiences with you. So this will be, I suppose, a kind of reading vlog as I make my way through, sharing my thoughts, maybe making a few excursions out into the outside world and having my own little adventures as I go through this book. So we'll see how it goes. I've never done a vlog before, but I hope you enjoy. Okay, so I think I've kind of failed right from the get-go. I initially wanted to share some of my assumptions just before I'd read anything. Unfortunately, I just wasn't patient enough to do that, and I've already read the whole introduction, which is quite a hefty introduction here, and the first book. So I'm not too far in, but I think I've gone a bit too far in to start talking to you guys and be just totally blind to whatever's going on in here. But I can still kind of remember what my assumptions were, and I think they were mainly more from medieval sort of quest narratives and things like that, and the Iliad as well, which I read last summer. My head was kind of still in that area before picking up the Odyssey, and I was expecting it to still be operating within those sorts of value systems. And what I was quite surprised to find in the introduction was that really there's much more of a focus on hospitality. The values from the Iliad aren't really compatible with the values of the Odyssey. They're kind of different worlds. And so this focus on hospitality, it's a kind of guest friendship that in Greek they call xenia, which is where we get the word xenophobic, is to be afraid of others, to be afraid of guests. And so potentially what we're going to be looking at in the Odyssey as I'm going through it is an exploration of how to be a good or bad guest, how to be a good or bad host, and sort of questions around that, and how looking into this value might speak into the culture that this poem came out of. So that's what I'm kind of thinking as I'm just kind of got my foot just over the threshold. But we'll see where it goes, we'll see whether I'm wrong. But I thought I'd share with you just before we move on Emily Wilson, the translator's last words before the poem begins. There is a stranger outside your house. He is old, ragged and dirty. He is tired. He has been wandering homeless for a long time, perhaps many years. Invite him inside. You do not know his name. He may be a thief, he may be a murderer, he may be a god. He may remind you of your husband, your father, or yourself. Do not ask questions. Wait. Let him sit on a comfortable chair and warm himself beside your fire. Bring him some food, the best you have, and a cup of wine. Let him eat and drink until he is satisfied. Be patient. When he is finished, he will tell you his story. Listen carefully. It may not be as you expect. So I'm not doing a terribly good job of clocking in with you guys about how I'm doing with the Odyssey. I'm about 2/3 of the way through and I haven't given an update, so I'm going to bring you up to speed with where I'm up to. And so initially, how it starts, I suppose for anyone new to the Odyssey, it doesn't start where you'd expect it to start. We're not really hearing much about Odysseus at all. He's sort of mentioned by the gods, but essentially Odysseus is stuck on an island with Calypso, and Athena is going to go down to Ithaca to see how things are going with Penelope and Telemachus, and that's where we end up, and we're just seeing the situation with these suitors who, seeing that Odysseus has been gone for so long, are thinking maybe they can, get a shoe in. Yeah, it's a very fraught sort of situation. Oh, okay, that was a weird noise. Very fraught kind of situation, and Telemachus isn't really very happy about it, and he comes up with this plan between him and Athena to go find two of the kings who fought in the Trojan War and see if they know anything about it. And so he goes over. I think it's Nestor and Menelaus are the two people he's gone to see. And we'll just get a bit of backstory. It's been pretty good, But maybe one of the funniest bits then is when the suitors realise what Telemachus is doing, and it kind of says that they've been too busy sort of playing with the javelin and the discus and stuff, which I find quite funny. That these guys are just kind of too busy just playing around with their sports and stuff, and then like a few days later they're like, oh, where did that kid go? Yeah, so that was pretty funny. But then it takes a darker twist, and they're gonna ambush him on his way back, and then it leaves Telemachus' story right there. We don't know what's going to happen to him, because straight on from there we go back to Odysseus and we find out what he's up to, how he's doing. So I'll tell you about that in a bit, I guess. Alright, and now we've moved on from Telemachus, and we're back with Odysseus. He's on not Circe, I always get them muddled up, on Calypso's island. And there's a really great bit where, she's basically like, well, why would you want to go home? I'm better than your human wife, and you wouldn't grow old if you're with me. Which is, sad, and even though he'll have to go through all kind of pains and hardships to get home, Odysseus is willing to take the journey, and eventually the gods have basically forced Calypso's hand and told her that that's what needs to happen. He has to go home now. So he's on his little raft and everything's going well, and then Poseidon notices him, and Poseidon remembers that he doesn't like Odysseus, and I think we'll find out why a bit later. And so he rages up this massive storm, and the mast of Odysseus's raft breaks off, and it's not looking very good for Odysseus at all. But then this old sea goddess comes up to him, and it's a bit weird. I suppose it kind of makes sense. She tells him to take off all of his clothes because they'll just weigh him down, and she gives him a magic scarf so he can swim to shore safely, because he's not too far from shore. He just doesn't know how he's going to get there without crashing into the rocks. But eventually he manages to get to shore, and he's exhausted. And that section just of the storm and swimming through this really, really, really tumultuous ocean is really, really good. It kind of gets you right on the edge of your seat. It's really, really cool. And then he's on this island. I can't pronounce the name of these people. The Phaeacians, I want to say, Phaeacians. And the daughter of the king here is called Nausicaa, for any anime fans. Again, there's a very funny little bit where he's, absolutely naked, and there's this young girl and all of her companions there, just kind of running away from this wild man. And he's like, now, should I go up close to her, or should I keep my distance? Maybe I should keep my distance. And I was thinking, yes, maybe you should, Odysseus, maybe you should. So that's where I am. He's just met Nausicaa, and he's got a plan to go up to the palace and meet the king and queen of this island. But yeah, it's been good so far. There's been some humour. There's been some action. There's been some, a fair bit of threat in there. One thing that I'm quite enjoying is that we've just left off Telemachus in a situation where he's running into a trap, and it's just left it there hanging. And now we're finding out what's happened to Odysseus, but that's still in the back of our head. So I think that's quite a cool storytelling device. Whereas if I remember right, the Iliad was just like a kind of straight line going all the way through, more or less. So yeah, that's been really cool. More complex than I was expecting. Much more of a range of different emotions so far, but yeah, it's looking good. So you might notice that I'm not in my in my house, ceiling beams and weird things like that. This is the house of some friends of my wife's family, and yeah, my mother-in-law is staying here, and we came over just to say hello, and we made a little friend. So let's meet Leo. Say hello, Leo. I think he's having a little nap at the moment. But I realised, I'm not doing a terribly good job of this whole vlogging thing. I didn't show you our journey here, but maybe that's appropriate. The Odyssey is about return journey anyway, so I might show you the return journey later.